Hi everyone, welcome back to the USCPA classes for financial accounting and reporting. In this particular video, I'll be walking you through in detail about inventory, the overview of inventory, component of inventory, cost of inventory and initial measurement of inventory we are going to cover in this part, that is part 1. So there would be part 2 which is coming just after this for inventory accounting. So please complete part 2 as well because that is in continuation of this part.
Hi everyone, welcome to the FAR classes. Today we are going to start with with inventory, right? So in inventory we'll be covering these 6 things. First one is component of inventory, what all comes under the inventory category. Second is cost of inventory, how to calculate the respective category of inventory cost, and then inventory system, which include periodic system, perpetual system, then initial measurement and the subsequent measurement. So all these 5 key items will be covering one by one in detail today. So component of inventory, I know some of you might be knowing it, but just for everyone to be on same page, component of inventory include raw material. Raw material basically are the material which we generally use for the production purpose as the base, right? And then second category is work in progress. Work in progress is like if you have just imagine any production unit you might have seen in your life experience, right? Whatever is on the floor on which like productions is happening, right? That the items which is lying on the floor, which is in the production floor, in the production process, or maybe in different machineries, right? Those all items are generally considered as a work in progress, that is moving from raw material position to finished good position. So whatever in between the raw material and finished good is generally considered as work in progress. Third is finished good. Finished good is which is like ready for sale. The goods or the inventory which is being ready for the sale. Maybe it's lying in your own warehouse, maybe it's lying on third party warehouse, or sometime it is possible that it is being lying with your dealer or consignor, right? Third is store, fourth is store and spares. So have you heard about this term before, store and spares? What are store and spares? Anyone can? Hmm?
Stores मतलब sir warehouse, spares मतलब like maybe extra material that is required like in case of a rework.
No, no. Anyone else would
आई
like to
थिंक
attempt?
टूल्स एंड स्पेयर्स वो होता है वो जो nails
वेयर
होते
हाउसेस होते
हैं,
हैं वो।
हैमर्स और वो सब जो बेसिकली जो हार्डवेयर वाले छोटे छोटे जो चीजें होती हैं,
Tools.
टूल्स, राइट?
Yes, tools, equipment which is being required for day in, day out to ensure like smooth production. Like store and spares may include like lubricants, like small nuts, bolts, or piping, small thing which is being often required for the production process, or sometime it is being required. Most of the time, it is being required for ensuring the smooth functioning of the machineries which is being used for the production purpose.
सर ये तो फिर indirect material में आ जाएगा.
No, as of now, we are talking about inventory.
Okay. ठीक है.
Yeah, we are not talking about cost of inventory. When we discuss cost of inventory, then we'll discuss what is direct, what is indirect. Right. As of now, what all comes under the inventory and what are the categories of inventory in the financial statement you can look for. Right. Next is good in transit. Have you heard about this? Good in transit.
Yes,
Any
sir.
idea? What is good in transit?
It is in the transit when from one location to the another one. Though the billing is there, but it is under transport, and it's not at the end. It's in transit actually. If we are sending material from Mumbai to Bangalore, and the goods have started on the transport, it will be called as goods in transit.
Do you need to record that as your inventory or not?
One word. So yes, sir, we need to
actually,
record it. In case of consignment accounting, like we can record goods in transit. और भी जगह होगा मतलब क्योंकि हमने तो अपनी जगह से the supplier has sent out the material. The receiver has not yet received it. So we will obviously be showing it as a goods in transit because responsibility, the risk has not yet been transferred in that case.
Okay, let's understand one by one. First is, for example, you are a car manufacturing company. Let's assume you are Hyundai, and you have a supplier called Goodyear, right? And Goodyear has supplied the tires, and it is about to reach at your factory. So, will you consider in your books as good in transit?
Yes, sir. Raw material in transit over.
So, do you account for
Yes, sir, we do.
in your books?
Yes, sir.
When do you account for it?
Sir, when it leaves your, when we have purchased it but we have not received it, तो वो inventory में ऐसी record होगी in transit. Goods in transit debit, मतलब दिखा सकते हैं. हाँ, stock हो जाएगा.
But still we are missing like key term.
Sir, actually FOB shipping hoga. So then I will book it. I will like record it in my books. If it FOB destination hoga, then after delivery to the customer, I will book it.
Absolutely true. You hit the nail. So if your terms with the Goodyear is that your ownership of the goods is when Goodyear dispatch, that means for you it is FOB. Then you will consider that good in transit or raw material in transit, right? And if your arrangement is FOB shipment or FOB destination, then once it reach to your place, then you can record that as inventory. But in that case of scenario, there would not be any good in transit, because once it reach to your destination, once it reach to your warehouse, it is your raw material, not in transit. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Second scenario, if I say you are Hyundai and let's assume Google has ordered you 50 cars, right? And you have dispatched from your factory to the Google office. But it has reached to the Google, it has not yet reached to the Google office. Would you consider that good in transit?
Sir, again, we will have to decide ki whether it is FOB or CIF sale. And accordingly, if it is, FOB के केस में, he will FOB में वहाँ पे खत्म हो जाएगा. So FOB के केस में he will have to record it. Microsoft. Google.
No, Google.
Google. Sorry.
No, I'm saying Hyundai. Like for example, you are a Hyundai.
Okay.
Whether you need to consider that as good in transit or not.
No, we will not record it as good in transit. If it is an FOB.
Okay. If it is destination,
then we will record it as goods in transit.
Right. Everyone on same page? Rahul?
Yes, sir.
Prashant?
Yes.
Good. Right. So that is called good in transit, and we need to account for good in transit when the terms and condition is like that ownership has not transferred for the finished good, right? Or you need to consider good in transit of raw material when you have received the ownership but not the material. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Last one is consignment good. What is consignment good? What is consignment arrangement?
If I keep my goods in some other person's warehouse, those are called as consignment goods.
So
and I think ownership remains with me as a
yes,
manufacturer.
absolutely true. So for example, let's assume you have office in Arizona and you have produced certain good and that you need to deliver to San Francisco, right? And for that you have hired a consigner. Consigner is like transporter, right? And to the transporter you have given the goods and the consigner is taking to the destination, which is San Francisco, right? By the meantime, the goods till the time it reached to the San Francisco office, it is under the consignment with the consigner, right? Here, the difference between in-transit good and consignment good is that the consigner take the ownership. If something went wrong with your goods, then he will be considered as an, like, he'll be taking care of the insurance side, or he'll be taking care of reimbursement for the damages. So that is the reason it comes under the consignment category. When ownership as well as the risk is completely yours and it is in between transit from your warehouse to your client, then it is good in transit. But when it is going through the consigner and consigner is being responsible for the insurance of the good or remediate if there is any damage, then it would be considered as a consignment good. That's one example. But other than that, also there are certain companies who use consigner for the sales as a sales agent, right? In that case of scenario, if the goods is lying with the consigner and after that he's making the sales for the company, then also it will be considered as a consignment sales, right? Everyone, component of inventory, raw material, very simple. Work in progress, we all discuss. Finished good, again very simple. Store and spares, it's different. Good in transit and consignment goods. Any doubt here?
No, sir.
So now let's jump into the second bucket, which is cost of inventory. How do you calculate the cost of respective inventory? First one is raw material. What all comes in the cost of raw material? First one is your net purchase price. What is net purchase price? The agreed purchase price minus if you have received any discount, whether it's your cash discount or quantity discount or trade discount, any such kind of discount, right? And net of sales tax or GST, whatever it is, right? So the raw material price include net purchase price plus indirect acquisition cost. Indirect acquisition cost means like any freight in transit you have paid or any insurance for in transit you have paid, that you need to add. Make sense? That's how
Yes.
you'll be. Yes, Rahul, you were saying something?
No, sir.
Prashant, you were saying?
You are
Yeah.
asking something?
No, I think you are saying something.
No, sir.
Okay. Second is work in progress and finished good. So for the work in progress, you will be adding raw material cost, which we have calculated above, plus allocated labor cost, plus allocated overhead, plus eligible interest to capitalize. So we'll be discussing on that eligible interest to capitalize, but high level, what is allocated labor or what is allocated overhead? Any idea how do we calculate them? Overhead costing, have you studied in your college days?
Yes.
How do we calculate allocation of overhead or allocation of labor to the inventory? Any idea?
बेसिकली एलोकेटेड ओवरहेड या लेबर बेसिकली वैसे ही एलोकेट होंगी कि टोटल लेबर कॉस्ट कितनी है या टोटल ओवरहेड्स कितने हैं एंड बेस्ड ऑन द वर्क वी हैव डन या फिर जितना लेबर आवर्स वी हैव पुट इन वी in each type of service or good. तो उसके basis पे number of hours के basis पे we allocate labor और ऐसे ही overheads, and ये this is one of the methods. ऐसे और बहुत सारे methods हैं, मेरे को but this is one of the methods की hours based.
Yeah. Anyone else would like to add to Ayush? Rahul, Ananya?
So, sir, it's about total hours worked and total unit produced during that hours and the cost of labor. So,
So here the concept of direct labor comes. So direct labor is basically the labor who is working at a production floor. It may not include white collar labor. It includes majority of the blue collar labor. White collar labor only that is being working on the production floor need to be considered, right? First, like total labor cost. What all comes in the labor cost? All the people who are working on a production floor, right? Second important thing is how do you allocate to the respective inventory item. That is based on, like I said, based on number of hours invested in each category of the work, right? That can be one way. The second time, like some company do use machine hours, some company do use like unit of production. So there are various methods for the allocation. It depends on the company policy, what their policy is all about, right? If the company has a policy to allocate for a respective category of labor by hour invested, respective category of labor by machine hour, respective category of labor on completion of the product, then accordingly you need to allocate the labor cost to the respective category of item. Second thing is allocation of overhead. What is overhead? Any idea what is overhead cost?
All cost other than direct cost, should be the cost, like when we are running a machine in a factory, there can be power consumption, okay, uh, other rent expenses, all these can be considered as overhead cost. Other whatever is directly related to production or manufacturing of that a final product, those additional costs are known as overhead costs.
How about others?
Marketing?
No.
No.
Marketing cost is never be part of production. It is always sales and marketing cost. That should not load on the inventory. So overhead costs will include like rent, will include depreciation, will include electricity, will include insurance, will include like securities for the production area, right? Surveillance cost. So anything related to the production floor which is not a direct material or not a direct labor, but it is being like supporting to the overall production system. So all those costs are being considered as an overhead cost. But sales, journal, administration, accounting, or you can say legal expenses, those are not related to the production floor. So hence those are not to be considered in the overhead cost when you are doing the calculation. Third thing is eligible interest cost. Have you heard about this term? Capitalization of interest.
सर ये बोरिंग कॉस्ट में था, जो बोरिंग कॉस्ट का बोरिंग कॉस्ट के टाइम पे
yes. What is that?
सो सर बेसिकली इसमें ये होता है कि अगर कुछ लोन वगैरह इफ यू हैव टेकन फ्रॉम एनी बैंक डेवलप अ पर्टिकुलर एसेट, देन ड्यूरिंग द period that asset is being developed and that loan amount is being used, that amount would be capitalized along with the asset.
Absolutely true. So for example, you have purchased a piece of land for $1 million, and now you want to construct a residential apartment on that piece of land, and you need $2 million more. right? And you have taken a $2 million loan, and now you have constructed 100 apartment, right? Total cost you have incurred is $3 million, right? And you have constructed, let's assume, 100 economic apartment, right? And those construction might have taken 2 year or 3 year times to do that. So that $2 million which you have taken a loan, and you might be paying interest on that, right? Definitely you'll be paying interest on that. So that interest, can you capitalize or can you load on the inventory? Those 100 apartment is your inventory because you are real estater, right? Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you can load the interest amount to the respective apartment costing. That is called interest allocation or interest capitalization on inventory. So apartment is your inventory now. For a real estate person, apartments are inventory for them. Make sense?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Ananya, Prashant. Okay. So
Yes,
note
sir.
over here is overhead allocation should be based on the normal operating capacity. This is also very important. So when you do the allocation of overhead, it is always be considered at a normal capacity. For example, if your plant has a capacity to build 1 million unit, right? Then the overhead allocation you are doing, that for example your rent expense, your depreciation expense, or maybe your security expense, your electricity expense, right? All those things you need to be consider. The base is the normal operating capacity of 1 million unit. It should not be like if your capacity is being underutilized, then allocation would be more. If your capacity would be overutilized, then allocation would be less, right? So hence you always need to consider the overhead allocation based on the normal capacity. You will never consider the overhead allocation on underutilized capacity or overutilized capacity. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Next, which we have discussed is interest capitalized. Interest capitalized only for the acquisition period. Like we discussed, acquisition begin when the following three conditions are met. First is expenditure for the assets were made. Second is activity is in progress. Third is interest is being incurred. So like we discussed an example, you have purchased a piece of land for $1 million, right? And to construct the apartment on that, you require $2 million, which you have taken loan from bank, right? And that means first condition is satisfied, that expenditure you are making is on building that inventory, right? And construction is in progress, so second condition also met. And third, interest you have already started paying it, right? So all the three conditions are meeting, hence you can capitalize that interest or you can load that interest to the inventory. Make sense? The same example which we have discussed, right? And capitalization period end when the asset is substantially complete and ready for intended use. The day your construction is complete and your apartments are ready to use or ready to sell, after that, if you are incurring any interest, that interest you cannot load on the inventory value. Then it will be your finance cost. Then it will be your finance expense. Make sense? Till the time your inventory is not ready to sell, you can capitalize. But once your inventory is ready to sell, then after you cannot capitalize the interest. Make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
Rahul, Ananya, Santrupti.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So next thing is inventory system. Have you heard about periodic inventory system or perpetual inventory system? Any idea what is periodic inventory system or what is perpetual inventory system? Hmm?
सर
सर
इन्वेंट्री सिस्टम में आई थिंक ओपनिंग बैलेंस आता है और क्लोजिंग बैलेंस आता है, वो कैरी फॉरवर्ड करके दिखाते हैं, इतना ही याद है। और पीरियोडिक में शायद हर पीरियड को एक नया कंसिडर करके भी अकाउंट फॉर द इन्वेंट्री।
Now both the answer are wrong. Both are wrong attempts.
गलत हो सकता है, मैं क्या, चलो एक बार बोल के देख लेता हूँ।
सर पीरियडिक में लाइक दे विल काउंट द इन्वेंटरी periodically, then accordingly they will adjust their books, maybe monthly, quarterly, or on a yearly basis. Or perpetual में it is like a continuous updation.
Yes, yes. So, if you see, like in practical life, what kind of company might be using periodic and what type of company might be using perpetual? Have you heard about like company need to maintain costing records?
Yes.
What are the costing reports?
जॉब
Just
कार्ड होता है जैसे।
So, okay, just to give a thought, like what kind of company might be required to maintain perpetual system, or what kind of company required to maintain periodic system of accounting, if what like Prashant has shared the definition is right.
जैसे कि सर पेट्रोल पंप वालों को तो परपेचुअली करना पड़ता होगा, बिकॉज जितना स्टॉक है, जितना सेल हुआ, वो इन्वेंट्री से डिडक्ट हो जाता होगा। एंड पीरियडिक में तो मे बी
Have you seen any accounts in Tally?
ज्यादा कंपनीज ऐसी हैं जिनके प्रोडक्ट छोटे हैं, जो कि काफी ज्यादा मूवमेंट है जिनके प्रोडक्ट्स में, लाइक गारमेंट इंडस्ट्री, उसमें मुझे लगता है परपेचुअल सिस्टम यूज होता होगा, बिकॉज ज्यादा कंटिन्यूस फ्लो है, तो दे हैव टू मेंटेन दैट स्टॉक कंप्लीटली। एंड पीरियोडिक, जो कि मे बी हेवी गुड्स हैं या फिर जिनका डेली का आउटफ्लो नहीं है इस तरीके से, आई फील शायद उस वो पीरियोडिक सिस्टम मेंटेन करते हो।
Which one is like which option, which system is better?
परपेचुअल आई थिंक शुड बी बेटर।
बट सर उसके लिए ना कंप्यूटराइज्ड अकाउंटिंग सिस्टम होना जरूरी है, लाइक इफ यू वांट टू मेंटेन इट ऑन रियल टाइम बेसिस, if you have a computerized system, you have a barcode, you can maintain perpetual system for any kind of industry. But if you don't have, then maybe you will go and count your inventory on daily basis, or once in a week, twice a week, and then you will update accordingly.
Yeah, very true. But which option is which inventory system is better?
सर परपेचुअली है, अगर आपका इन्वेंटरी डाउन हो गया, एक लेवल के नीचे आ गया, तो यू कैन गो एंड ऑर्डर दी वेंडर की भैया मेरे को रॉ मटेरियल चाहिए, दे दे इतना।
इसमें सर कंटिन्यूसली वो डेंजर लेवल्स और वो सब जो हम चेक करते थे, वो सब मॉनिटर कंटिन्यूसली हो पाएगा, तो वी मे बी एबल टू मेक बेटर प्रिपरेशन।
इकोनॉमिक ऑर्डर क्वांटिटी है।
दो चीजों को मल्टीप्लाई करके निकलती थी वो।
Yes. No, just give a random example of few companies, and then let's give a thought like whether they will be maintaining the accounts on perpetual basis, inventory on perpetual basis, or periodic basis. Any like mom and pop show, whether they will be maintaining inventory on a perpetual basis or periodic basis.
कौन सी कंपनी बोली?
पीरियडिक बेसिस पे
Any
करते हैं।
mom and pop shops?
पीरियडिक सर।
Periodic? Why?
सर अगर उनके पास कंप्यूटर नहीं है वगैरह, तो वो क्या करेंगे? है तो बेचेंगे, बाद में स्टॉक चेक करेंगे, then they will like order the
So if you have like Reebok outlet or Adidas outlet, Will they be using perpetual or periodic?
ये तो सर
परपेचुअल
परपेचुअल होगा.
परपेचुअल ही होगा सर, उनके पास कंप्यूटर है,
Why?
कंप्यूटर है उनके पास.
Okay. And maybe any small manufacturing company, let's assume, a printing press who is making like books, who is doing printing of the books, small printer, would they be maintaining inventory on perpetual basis or periodic basis?
वो तो अपने periodic पे कर रहे होंगे. What I
Hmm.
feel.
Hmm.
Being a small store, maybe.
How about Apple?
तो सर वो भी नहीं करेगा. परपेचुअल तो दिक्कत है फिर से.
Right. So, okay. So high level, you got an idea, but don't worry, we'll discuss in detail. But periodic system of inventory is that means once in a month, once in a quarter, or once in a year, or semi-annual, you do a physical count of inventory, right? And based on that, you identify what is your closing inventory, and then adjusting that closing inventory, opening inventory, and purchases to reach to the amount of cost of goods sold. So there is a formula. We'll be discussing that also in detail to calculate the cost of goods sold when you are using periodic accounting system. As per GAAP, both the accounting system are okay, right? There's no, there's no you can say mandatory requirement to use only perpetual or use only periodic. Both are allowable inventory system as per GAAP. Second is perpetual, where you maintain the real-time inventory. For example, airlines. Like if you go to the Delta airline, if you go to American Airlines, or if you go to Frontier Airlines, you'll see like they're having like real-time inventory by each flight. So as and when one person book for the respective flight, it will show like it's sold. Right, in India also, if you see like Book My Show, have you booked any like theater ticket from Book My Show or any such vendor?
Yes,
Right,
yes, sir.
so there also you'll see like real time what all seats are being available, what all seats are not available, right? That is again a perpetual inventory, right? We'll be discussing in detail, and we'll be going through certain example also for the periodic and perpetual. So next topic is initial measurement of inventory. So in initial measurement of inventory, there are a couple of methods based on which you can calculate the inventory. First one is FIFO method, which is first in, first out method. Any idea what is first in, first out method is?
Yes, the metal which comes in first is considered to be first out. Like if you have 100 units purchased and your 80 units are going, so out of that 100 units, the 80 units will go first, and then the rest of the things will take care.
So what you will see the question like if the market is inflation and you're using FIFO method, will your cost of goods sold be higher or less compared to LIFO?
लेस.
Why?
सर इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ रहा है, देन जो पहले मैंने परचेस किया है उसका कॉस्ट कम होगा, एंड एज ए इन्फ्लेशन इंक्रीजेस माय इनपुट कॉस्ट विल इंक्रीज, then accordingly my COGS cost will increase.
Yeah, everyone agree? Rahul, Ananya, Akash, are you getting the point? What we discussed just? So for example, on 1st January, you have purchased 100 items for $10 each. So now you have inventory of $1,000, right? Are you guys
Yes,
with
sir.
me? Right? And then on, let's assume 8th January, you purchase another 100 unit for $12 each. So now how much inventory you have? 1200 plus 1000, 2200, right? and then on, let's assume 15th January, you purchase another 100 unit at $15. Or how much you have purchased? $1,500, right? So 1,500 plus 2,200. How much is the total inventory you have?
3,700.
3,700. Now on 30th of January, you sold 250 units. So what would be the closing inventory value? What will be the value of closing inventory if you are using FIFO method? Are you guys with me? So
Yes,
this
sir.
is your, what is this? Unit rate amount. This is your, yes. Okay. So how much you have purchased? 100 units, 100 units, 100 units at 10, 12, 15. This multiplied by this. How much is your total inventory? Right? And now, out of this 300, you have sold how much? 250 unit. And you are using FIFO method of inventory. Are you guys with me?
Yes, sir.
So, what is the value of inventory? 250 sold. How much is remaining?
50.
50. So, what is the value of this 50?
सर आप फीफो फॉलो कर रहे हैं या लीफो?
If you are using FIFO.
तो वो तो सर 15 हो जाएगा सर. 15 to 15.
15 क्या रेट का?
हाँ सर 15 होना चाहिए.
15.
into 15.
So what is the value?
7,500.
750.
750 sorry. हाँ.
So what is the cost of goods sold? This minus this.
Yes.
Right? Everyone agree?
Yes, sir.
Ananya, Rahul, got it? So yeah. So this is about first in first out method. What is last in last out method?
सर उसमें सबसे लास्ट वाला पहले निकल जाता, वो फर्स्ट वाली इन्वेंटरी को मल्टीप्लाई कर देते रेट से.
So if you are using LIFO, then what
10
will be the value?
10 रुपए सर.
10
सो हो जाएगी
10.
टोटल.
हाँ 500 हो जाएगी.
और कॉस्ट हो जाएगी
Yes.
जो भी है वो.
Right?
हाँ 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 जी.
Now, if you are using dollar value LIFO, any idea about dollar value LIFO? I think this is new concept for you. Have you heard this before? Dollar value LIFO?
वो CFA में पढ़ा था कुछ सर मैंने.
Okay, modification of LIFO. This we will discuss. These are new concept. And then LIFO to FIFO comparison also will be studying, which is specific identification, retail method, convention one. Sorry. This is Yeah, we'll be studying LIFO FIFO comparison, and then we'll be studying specific identification method, retail method, convention retail method, average cost method. I'm sure you might have studied that average cost or weighted average cost method, and then gross profit method. So these all method we'll be studying one by one in detail, but high level, like LIFO specific identification method is when you have, like, when you are building specific item, like some company who are being engaged in big trunky project, right? In those big trunky project, they allocate the respective cost to the respective project based accounting, right? Second is retail method. Retail method is majorly used for the retail industry company who are into trading business, majority of them, how to calculate the inventory value for the retail goods and products, right? And then in the retail method, there is conventional retail method also, that also we'll discuss. Then average cost method is more or less, like on this example, you can also do average cost. For example, for this 3,700 is the total cost divided by 300. So this is your average cost coming out 12.33. So for 250 which you have sold, 12.33, something like this. This will cost you this multiply by this, something like this, right? And your closing inventory will also be at this price, right? Are you guys with me?
सर सेल में क्यों हम 12.33 करेंगे सर एवरेज में?
Because this is the average inventory cost.
मतलब मैं वैसे सोच रहा था कि मतलब परचेज जैसे 12.33 पे हुआ है तो सेल थोड़ा उससे ज्यादा ही प्राइस पे हुआ होगा.
No, this is not sale, rather this is cost.
अच्छा, ओके.
Yeah. This will hit the cost. So in inventory, it's always be accounted for at cost, but sales, yeah, it should be a profit,
ओके.
right? And then after gross profit method, so that's also a method where you calculate the average gross profit, and accordingly you remove that gross profit to value the closing inventory from the sales price. So that also we'll be discussing along with example. And then after, once you have done the initial measurement of inventory, then there would be a subsequent measurement, right? That is generally at period end, where you need to do like lower of cost or market price, or lower of cost or NRV. So in Indian accounting standard or Ind AS, you might have heard lower of cost or NRV, right? In IFRS also the concept is lower of cost or NRV, but in US GAAP the both concept exist: lower of cost or market price and lower of cost or NRV. And you need to consider the difference and account for the impact for the same. That is called,
करेंगे इन दोनों में से फिर?
sorry,
दोनों मतलब दोनों कर सकते हैं, लोअर ऑफ कॉस्ट या मार्केट प्राइस या एनआरवी. तो हम कौन सा चूज करते हैं जनरली, मतलब ऐसे?
when you are using LIFO, I have seen then people use lower of cost or market, but other than in FIFO or average, we generally use lower of cost or NRV. That's what like my experience, but US GAAP allows both the method.
ओके, ठीक.
But this is the difference between US GAAP and IFRS. So IFRS allow only lower of cost or NRV, whereas US GAAP allow both.
ओके सर.
Right. Now, if you see in these 5 major items of inventory, which is component of inventory, cost of inventory, inventory system, initial measurement, and subsequent measurement. So component of inventory is straightforward. We have already covered here, right? Cost of inventory is also very straightforward. We have covered here. Now we are going one by one in detail about inventory system, initial measurement, and subsequent measurement. These will be studying in detail one by one, right? So first one is periodic inventory system. Periodic inventory system In that, you use unit and cost of ending inventory and cost of goods sold for the period are determined at the end of the period based on the physical count. Like I said earlier, when you are using periodic inventory system, it is being based on the physical inventory count at the period end. So at the period end, you do the physical inventory count and you identified how much of the respective quantity of inventory exists at your floor. And then you do the backward calculation. How you do the backward calculation to calculate the cost of goods sold? You have opening inventory. So you might have identified in a similar fashion, right? For example, if you're a small or mid-sized company, you might be using the periodic inventory system. So in the previous year also, at the end of the year, you might have done the inventory count. If you have seen, like most of the company do their inventory count on 31st December or 31st March in case of Indian company, right? Have you heard about like inventory count of the respective company generally at year end?
I have done the inventory count, sir.
Right? So generally it's at year end date, right? So that you may have closing inventory properly recorded in your books, right? Same way you might have done in the previous year, that will be your opening inventory. So you have comfort on the opening inventory and you have comfort on the closing inventory. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And then for purchases, you have all invoices, right? So how do you calculate the cost of goods sold? Your opening inventory plus purchases minus closing inventory. That will give you cost of goods sold. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Any doubt here? Prashant, Anya, Rajiv sir?
No, sir.
Okay. So second is perpetual system. Like we discussed earlier, it a continuous maintenance of accounting record. So unit and cost are accounted for on a perpetual basis. Inventory, subledger are being maintained. Do you know what is subledger and general ledger? Do you have any idea what is subledger and what is general ledger? Yes, no.
Yes, sir. Like in charts, in the main general ledger is inventory, and after that there will be a sub ledger of inputs, then packaging, and finished goods and all.
No.
सर जब हम when we are making those part of accounts, तो उसमें हो गया हमारा प्राइमरी लेजर है सपोज, ठीक है? उसके विद इन हमें क्लासिफाई करके दिखाना है कोई और चीज को, सो वी टेक इट एज अ सब लेजर.
No.
नहीं सर,
No.
उसमें वो उसका सब्सिडरी लेजर नहीं हो गया कि मतलब उसकी पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजैक्शंस. एग्जांपल नहीं आ रहा, लेट मी थिंक.
No, like sub-ledgers are generally those ledger which provide detailed information as a backup of the information coming in the journal ledger. In your trial balance, all the information comes from the journal ledger. But many journal ledger do have sub-ledger also. Like for example, account receivable. If you see in your receivable account, right, you will see only how much total amount is debit, how much is credit, how much is paid, how much is recovered, and what is the closing balance, right? But if you want individual customer wise detail, from where do you get? You'll get from the sub ledger. In sub ledger you maintain the individual customer wise detail. That is called a subledger, in which you have like more in-depth detail at the customer level. Same way in the inventory also you maintain subledger. So if you see in the trial balance, you have inventory accounting, right? In inventory you have raw material account, WIP account, FG account, store and spare accounts, or consignment goods, or maybe in transit goods. But In those ledger, you'll be getting only debit, credit, and information. But at the same time, to maintain the appropriate record, you need the complete movement of the inventory. Like how much is the inventory of which category you have purchased, how much of the inventory of which category you have released, how much of the inventory of which category is still lying in your inventory record. So those ledgers are being called sub-ledger inventory. Make sense? In which you have item-wise, SKU-wise details. Make sense?
तो डेटर वाले केस में जो हमने लेजर बनाया उसमें पार्टी हो गई जिससे हमें पैसा रिसीव करना है वही सब हो गया.
Yes.
Okay.
So in the trial balance, you have journal ledgers, but the backup of those journal ledgers are being sub-ledger from where the information is coming to the journal ledger. Make sense?
Yes.
Same way, account payable also, right? To the party-wise details are always comes in the sub-ledger, and some of that sub-ledger go to the journal ledger, and that journal ledger go to the trial balance. And from the trial balance, you make the financial statements. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
So unit and cost are accounted for on perpetual basis. Inventory subledgers is kept in agreement with the controlling inventory journal ledger account on a continuous basis. Unit only are accounted for on a perpetual basis, but cost are determined only at the end of the period. So when you are maintaining the perpetual accounting of inventory, you maintain only the units, not the cost. Cost is always being calculated at the period end. Make sense? Are you guys with me? Let's do some illustration to get more clarity. So look at this illustration. These methods are demonstrated as follows for both periodic and perpetual unit and cost inventory system. So on January 1st, you have an inventory of 200 unit and the price is $10. So cost you have is $2,000, right? Second information is given is the purchases in the month of January. On January 9, you purchase 400 unit for $11. On January 22, you purchase 100 unit for $14. On January 29, you purchase 300 unit for $12. So total purchases plus opening inventory is 9,400. Oh, sorry, this is total purchase 9,400. Right? Can you do the math and cross check?
Yes, sir. ये ठीक है.
And now you have given the information of sold, that is cost of goods sold. So on 6th January you sold 100 unit, on 12th January you sold 200, and 25th January you sold 300 unit. Total item sale is 600 unit. How much is the total inventory? How much is the total inventory? Opening plus purchases 1000 unit.
200 minus 600, 400 बचा.
Right? And the 600 is sold, so closing inventory is 400 unit. So the information can be further summarized as follows. Your opening inventory 200 unit for $2,000. Your purchase is 800 unit for $9,400. You have cost of goods available for sale. Available for sale mean opening inventory plus purchases, right? That is 1000 unit for $11,400. And now you have closing inventory of 400 and you have cost of goods sold of 600. So how much is the value we need to calculate? Can anyone do the math for me? What is the value of inventory and cost of goods sold? Can someone do the math for me?
सर ये इसमें मेथड कौन सा लगा रहे हैं?
Periodic. Let's assume FIFO.
सर एक बार ऊपर वाली टेबल दिखा दो प्लीज।
दिखाना।
हाँ
Let's assume we are using FIFO.
सर 4000।
4000.
सर इन्वेंट्री
5000.
इन्वेंट्री 4 सॉरी 5000।
5000 right.
How do you calculate it 5000?
सर 300 यूनिट तो आखिरी में हो गए। 300 जो टोटल 400 निकाल ले, 300 इंटू 12 हो जाएगा और 100 इंटू 14 हो जाएगा।
So 5000.
राइट यस सर।
And what is COGS?
कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड्स सोल्ड हो गया हमारा कितने पे?
6400.
6400.
राइट
400.
Right? Everyone agree to it?
Yes,
5000 and 6400. Let's see. So your inventory is 300 units at the rate 12, 100 unit at the rate of 14, which is 5000. Cost of goods sold is total goods available for sale minus inventory, 6400. Right? Now let's do on LIFO method. Let's do on LIFO method.
So inventory will be 4200.
सर कॉग्स होगा 8200
7200.
और इन्वेंट्री होगा 3200।
Inventory is how much?
4200.
3200।
Inventory is 3200. How do you calculate it? 200 units of opening at 10, 2000, and then 200 units at 11. How much is it? 2200. So 4200 is inventory, right?
Right sir, sorry.
So how much is the COGS?
7200.
7200, right? Everyone on same page?
yes sir.
Prashant, Rajiv sir,
Yes sir.
Ananya?
Yes, sir.
Ananya, are you doing some math? She just keep it on, or she's just recording the class. Okay, so 4200 and 7200, right? See, 200 units at $10, 200 units at $11, 4200 is the inventory. Total good available cost of goods available for sale is 11400 minus 4200 is cost of goods sold, right? Now let's do on average basis. If you're using average costing system, no LIFO, no FIFO. What is inventory and what is cost of goods sold?
ये एवरेज होगा क्या सर यहाँ पे?
Yes.
Inventory will be 4560.
How do you have calculated, Rahul?
Just a moment, sir. I just calculated by 9,400 divided by 800. So the average will be no,
No, why you are missing
no.
opening inventory?
Yes. So the total cost is 11,400 divided by 1,000. So it will be 11.4. So 11.4 multiplied by 400. So it will be 4,560.
Okay. And what is COGS?
600 divided by 11.4.
How much is it?
Set 40.
Right.
Set 40.
So computation of average cost per unit as total cost of goods available for sale is 11,400 divided by total unit for sale 1,000. So 11.40 is per unit average cost. So closing inventory we have 400 unit multiplied by 11.40, it is 4560. Same way cost of goods sold is either you can just multiply 600 to 1140 or you can say total goods available for sale minus closing inventory. Right?
Right, sir.
So I think we can take a break over here and then we can continue with the perpetual system. So we can take a break over here and then we can start with the perpetual system. I think you're feeling very drowsy now.
Yes.
Take some coffee